Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica from the 104.5 The Zone studios. The Nashville Predators' first-round series against the Vancouver Canucks shifts to Nashville in Game 3 on Friday after the Preds survived a third-period flurry from the Canucks to win Game 2 4-1 on Tuesday, tying the series at 1-1. A mega deal reported in the NFL today. The Detroit Lions and star wideout Amon-Ra St. Brown have agreed to a 4-year, $120 million deal per Ian Rappaport, making him the highest-paid wide receiver in the NFL on average annual value. Also, more wide receiver movement. The Cincinnati Bengals have exercised the fifth-year option on wide receiver Jamar Chase, and the Baltimore Ravens have extended wideout Rashad Bateman through 2026. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. One day from the NFL Draft. One day, synchronize your watches. I wonder how many people went to bed last night after the press conference and thought, I know what they're going to do now. Because I've told you this, Blaine, a bunch of times.
People did.
I'm amazed by people in the media, by fans, by anybody who can listen to any press conference that we've ever heard come out of that building down there and go, I know what's going to happen now. And there's always people who act like, oh, yeah, 100% they're taking Joe Alt. Remember, how many people said Brock Bowers in the chat? Oh, my God, they're taking Bowers.
When they start talking about tight ends.
Yes. This means they're taking Bowers.
What are you talking about? They talked about LSU. They're definitely taking Malik Neighbors.
Right. He brought up LSU for blue-chip prospects.
I don't know. No, it may take time and stuff because, they do need speed.
If they trade back, he's a blue-chip prospect. That's what they got at LSU.
Actually, they're taking Jaden Daniels is what I heard.
Jaden Daniels. Man.
Yeah, because they don't believe in Will Levis.
Yeah, remember the national media said Will Levis isn't good enough, so they're actually going to trade up to number 3 with the Patriots and take Jaden Daniels after the Washington Commanders take Drake May.
This is all speculation, guys. We're all in fun here today. But in case you just turn on the radio.
I thought, what are these fools talking
Imagine
about?
if
that happens. People were like, hey, Blaine, you sound like, no, that we were not talking
No, that was definitely a joke.
Right.
Disclaimer. I need to put a disclaimer on Zone TV. This is not real.
This is like every mock draft you've ever read. It's only for fun.
When did we find out years later that the draft was already pre-done?
They're just scripted like this. Like the
We're
season.
living in a
for
simulation.
A show for everybody else. I
just-
wouldn't be stunned.
Like
At least the first round, anyway.
If they had all already sat down, okay, you're going
They
to
already
take
had their trade
Right.
backs and
Yeah.
who was trading with
Right.
who and just, I'm always fascinated, like, how does that happen so fast? You only have so many minutes.
Well, didn't you see?
You had to call them ahead of time. I'm sorry. And say, hey, what were your thoughts? There's no way.
Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams were on the same flight after they just got done throwing with each other. They were hanging out. So I think it's predetermined that Chicago's taking
Getting
Caleb
both of
Williams and Rome Odunze at 1 and 9.
If you're the Bears
that's
and you
the
pull
rumor
that
out there
off.
after that happened, too.
Well, they got to sell a new stadium, remember?
Oh, yeah.
How could you be the Bears and not be at Soldier Field? What are we even doing here?
Oh, man, that's like no way Green Bay's ever going to leave Lambeau.
Boy.
If they let that happen, there will be some trouble there in Chi-Town. Woo. I would be arguing that make it indoor, but a lot of people will be like, no, that's what makes Soldier Field Soldier Field.
And that's what makes Lambeau. Just
Right.
being outdoors.
Yeah, that's true. But, hey, I'm thinking about ownership. I want to make money. I want people to show up. I want it to be an entertainment-type venue. And I also, by the way, which can change your thought process, but it didn't, for a while for me is I want to have Super Bowl here.
Yeah, and you're not getting a Super Bowl if you're outdoors.
Right. Giants got one, and they got a new stadium. So Detroit indoors. So you just never know. But Chicago, they all know it is going to be cold, regardless, in February.
Do you remember when we had to go to Minnesota for the Super Bowl and the high one day was negative? It was like -3 was the high. That's the high. Now, they played the game indoors, but it was miserable to be there.
And because of their new stadium, right?
When we were kids, and I've talked about this before, the Super Bowl only got played in like 5 places.
Yeah.
It got played in the Rose Bowl. It got played in the Orange Bowl. It got played in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. It got played in New Orleans. It only was in warm places. It got played in Tampa. And nobody ever complained. Like, this was, sometimes I think the NFL outsmarts itself, like with all the Europe games, but I'm sure it just means they'll make more money, just like moving the Super Bowl around. But like, nobody cared when the Super Bowl was in 5 places. It was always somewhere warm. For anybody who went, you had a pleasant experience. I mean, they had it as far north as Atlanta your year, and everything froze, and people wrecked their cars and couldn't drive over Mont Eagle.
I about broke my back.
Right.
Just walking to the meal, like,
That ice storm in Atlanta. So it'd be fine if they just moved it to like 5 places that were all warm. Everybody'd be fine.
That's us old school guys. It actually probably more from the business side. You would know more than me. Is that's how they sell to the different cities or states that they're building these new stadiums that we will bring as Super Bowl. So guess what? We're going to help you make more revenue for your city to help it continually grow, and you'll benefit from it, and the state will. And I think that's probably how that kind of continue to evolve. And like, we better start moving them, because if we have it in one, city or state that we hadn't had it before, this will be our sales pitch for other places, and especially if they get new stadiums.
You're 1,000% right. That's the NFL's carrot. That's the carrot that they dangle to everybody's tax base to say, if you build it, because we'll get one here. Because you remember the question was, this place is only like 65,000. Is that big enough for a Super Bowl? And whether it was Burke Nihill or one of them said, trust us, it's fine.
They're going to make exceptions to certain states because it's a new stadium.
And they'll standing room only another X amount of people in there, and they'll shoehorn a few more people into suites, and it'll be 78.
And they'll
be 70
probably
for game
put some
days.
extra seating in there in certain areas. Right.
Be 70,000 for game day, and they'll be good to go. But we're going to get one. They're getting one, or this wouldn't be getting done. Now think about Buffalo, because those crazy people have said, we're getting a new stadium, and we don't want a dome. I don't think Buffalo cares. You don't have to bring us the Super Bowl. We don't care. We had bad experiences in that thing anyway.
But do you think the NFL cares?
I think they care.
No. Like,
still stick the Super Bowl up there?
Because what is there to do there? That's why I say that. I've been to all these stadiums, in the cities, and I go. So I used to ask players on the seat, like, "Hey, so what do you do for entertainment?" I don't know much about Buffalo.
What do y'all do? Yeah.
Why do you think they jump through tables?
No, they drive 45 minutes to go to Canada.
Canada. They export themselves for fun.
Yep. I forgot who it was that said they get a limo and they drive there and come back.
Well, that's smart, though.
So the best thing to do in Buffalo is to drive to another country?
Is that what we're saying? Like, for entertainment purposes.
For entertainment.
I'm sure there are, basic stuff like restaurants and everything else, but for entertainment. That's what they would say. I was like, what?
I remember being a kid and having.
And it doesn't sound strange, though, because just think about this. Sometimes if you're living in New York, you got to drive that far just to get to, Manhattan. If you're living in the suburbs like we did at Cherry Hill or whatever, at Philly or whatever it may be. But it just sounded crazy that you were going to another country, as you mentioned.
I remember reading a book about O.J. Simpson when I was a kid. I was a big O.J. guy. And they asked O.J. about Buffalo. And he said, I grew up in San Francisco, which is a big city. And then I played college football in Los Angeles. He said, there is nothing to do in Buffalo.
Well, what year was this?
74, probably 75. I have to bring my OJ book in one day and show it to you guys. Pro football. Actually, I have another book about him. I still have it. Pro Football Stars 1977. OJ on the cover.
I think I know what book you're talking about.
And it was him like diving over a pile. OJ.
Because I had never seen him play. And when I meant like on TV.
Like you go to the book
TV.
fair when you were a kid. Yes, you could buy these books.
Yeah.
I bought them all.
I was a running back, so I bought all the running back books.
Oh, dude.
So I learned about OJ, George Foreman. Or not.
Chuck Foreman.
Chuck Foreman. I get George Foreman's a boxer. But yeah, for the Vikings. And it was like different running backs I'd never heard of. Wendell Tyler.
Oh, Wendell Tyler. Yeah.
Played for the 49ers these guys are all unique. Good players, and watching live, none of those guys were actually playing at the time.
Dorsett,
and that's I caught the tail end of his career watching it on TV, and he became my fan. I mean, my favorite player, and I became a fan of his. And then I got the cleats with the flaps, and then I got to play with his son. It was just awesome. Then I finally got to meet him. It was incredible.
And you thought, this guy's only this big?
Yeah, it was his interest in that day.
Because he was like 10 men on the football field. No one could catch him. He was.
Yeah, he was fantastic. When I started watching the Bills, like you said, I didn't see any of OJ's career. I saw Joe Cribbs?
Joe Cribbs?
Yeah, Joe Cribbs. And that made me believe I had a shot to play running back in the NFL because he wasn't a big guy either.
Nope. He had 3,000-yard seasons for the Bills. And then
3,000 yards.
Then had a dispute over money, and that was pretty much the end of Joe Cribbs.
Yeah. Him. What was the other small guy? He was with the Giants. Joe Morris?
Joe Morris.
Yeah. So I was a big fan of those guys.
And Joe Morris would have been like high school era for us. Mm-hmm. So we really know Joe Morris, little Joe Morris. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. And he lasted like a cup of coffee like 3-4 years and he was done.
He lasted a little bit longer than that, but his heyday was like 3 years. Yes. But he had 3 years where he was the man, that little rascal.
What?
And they had O.J. Anderson, who was
huge.
He'd started as a fast guy, and he kind of grew into a power back by the time it finished.
Yeah, that was fun times, man. Football that's when it put on the map.
And that's when running backs were the guy. And you took running backs in the first round, and they got all the carries. And, you look at the passing stats, you'd be like, man, they threw it 21 times and completed 10 of them. It was just a different time, man. It was a good time, though. And this show was a good time. And we're 24 hours out from draft day. And we got lots to discuss. So why don't we do this? Our man, Justin Melo, final pre-draft visit, set to join us next. We can ask him about prospects or who's looking to trade or anything else.
And anybody they want to ask, call in. 737-1045 The Zone. If you have a question for Justin Melo, ask about a prospect, your last minute, you think some switches are going on for the NFL draft tomorrow. So much excitement. Man, I can't wait.
Drop it in. You can even drop a question in the chat. F&M Bank Chat. Shout out to everybody who's watching on Zone TV. All right, big show, lots of draft talk. Go Preds, big win last night, and we'll be talking about it all today. Blaine and Mickey 1045 The Zone, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors.
Can't wait.
All right, the road to the NBA Finals starts now. Excitement every night, and new customers can join in on the excitement on FanDuel and can go on their own playoff run with $150. You just place any $5 bet, and you're going to get $150 in bonus bets. That's win or lose to use during these NBA playoffs. LeBron and the Lakers had a little tough sled in the first couple of games. I like them to win Game 3. Laker pride, I think it stands up. I'll take the game total over. Also, I like Austin Reeves, my fellow Arkansan. I think he hits his assists over. He's a distributor. I think he'll do some nice distribution in a Lakers win. But you can just go to FanDuel.com/Mickey, and you can get yourself started on FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. You'd have to be 21 or older, though. Present Tennessee. First online real money wager. Only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets. It expires 7 days after receipt. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Blaine and Mickey, there is no one like All Four Seasons Garage Doors because they power this show every day. And there's no one like Justin Melo when it comes to covering the draft. And he joins us now at JustinM_NFL. I mean, he's just everywhere. Draft Network, Titans, Music City, Miracles, MCM, Broadway, TN.
Hey, man.
Are your spidey senses just tingling right now, Melo, because you know all this is about to happen?
It's definitely Christmas Eve, right up my way.
Draft Eve, thank you.
Being, I'll tell you this: I just submitted my 205th interview to my boss of this draft cycle, and he said to me, he said, it's tomorrow, right? Like, are you still going to be sending these in May? And I said, well, no promises. I might be. So I feel like I can keep going the way that we're going right now, but I'm very happy it's tomorrow. I'll tell you one thing. I can't wait to take a nap.
I can only imagine. You did how many? 200 and how many?
205 interviews this year, 205 different prospects.
So 205. Out of the 205, who was your favorite guy that you talked to?
I get asked this every year. I hate this question, Mickey, but I'm going to be honest with you. I like them all. They're all my children is the political answer. But, no, I'm kidding. I'm going to give you one. We're live radio. I'm giving you one.
Thank you.
I'm giving you Clarion Arnold from Alabama. That's pretty much a brand new one. It published the other day. Did you see the viral moment at the combine with him and Stacey Dales where he talks about his mother after he goes through the drills and it was a bit of an emotional moment? I left that interview with him going, and I don't do this very often. I said, damn, if I, put myself in that seat, if I ran an organization, God, I want this guy on my team so bad.
So what did he say? What did he say about his mother? I didn't hear it.
So just at the combine, when Stacey Dales was talking to him about his upbringing and whatnot, he just gave a really great emotional thank you to her and to be a single mom. She had him really young. All the sacrifices that she went through, Stacey Dales started crying on live television when he did it because he did it completely out of nowhere. And I asked him I said, what's that moment going to be like Thursday night when you're with her? And he said, I'm not going to look at her in the eyes because she's going to cry and I don't want to cry. So almost got me damn tearing up when he said it. But outside of that, it was just the leadership, the work ethic, the confidence, the way, if you watch him on tape, he's the most technically savvy in this corner. I never do this. I left that interview actually saying, damn, I wish the Titans needed a corner. I wish they needed a first-round corner because I like that kid so much. He is so damn impressive. I probably put him above the other 204.
But they did bring him in, didn't they?
Yes,
they did. They did bring him in for a 30. Yeah, they had 30. You only get to bring 30 of them in. It's got to mean something, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying. Who's the one guy out there you feel like who has the most varied opinions? And I'll give you an example. Quinyon seems to have varying opinions from different people. And there's another guy, Marshawn Nealon, who went to Western Michigan. And I read back-to-back draft profiles on him, and one was like, he's not nearly strong enough, he's all finesse. And then the other one was like, he may sneak into the first round. Who are you seeing the most varied opinions on?
Well, Nealon's an interesting one because I love the inside-outside versatility, and I think he's got a lot of power to his game. I don't necessarily agree that he's all finesse. I don't think he's a high-end elite athlete. I think he wins more with motor and power and just being a good hard-nosed football player. There are a lot of those types. Keon Coleman's obviously a big one, after he ran the 4.64 40 at the combine. The 10-yard split wasn't as good as initially mentioned. Darius Robinson's got a little of that. I look at some of the linemen, I think Patrick Paul did an interview the other day where he said all of these mock drafts are wrong. I'm getting first-round buzz, back end of first round. And I know it's not a mock draft, but then you read Daniel Jeremiah's top, I think it was a 150, which I always put a lot of stock in. He had Patrick Paul at 120. Him as 120th best player. Then Paul says, well, I'm getting first-round buzz. You guys are all wrong. So Patrick Paul's definitely a big one. Popular mock draft target for the Titans at 38 if they don't go tackle at 7, right? Because, look, it's the classic wives' tale, right? The athleticism is there. The freakish traits are there. The length, the movement skills, very impressive. You turn the tape on and there's reps where you're like, I don't know that he knows what he's doing, right? He's pretty raw. Technically, he's very green. So it's one of those, either, you shoot for the moon or you're not going to land on your butt, right? So he's probably one of those that comes to mind when I think of variance.
Hanging with our man, Justin Melo, the day before the draft at JustinM_NFL, author this year alone of 205 different draft preview articles with different individuals.
Well, Justin, I want to ask you about two different quarterbacks and what round you think they'll go, and actually maybe even what team possibly who need a quarterback that just probably can't find a way to move up in the draft to get up there high enough to even pick a first-round guy. But that is Pratt from Tulane as well as Rattler from South Carolina.
Yeah, with Tulane, I like what he offers. I think the kid is very smart, really high football IQ. I'll tell you one thing, there are a lot of ties between him and the New Orleans Saints. Now, I think there's a bit of a gap in the Saints' mid-round picks. They don't have a couple of them, but I think of them maybe wanting to get a young quarterback in there. Derek Carr, I don't know that he lived up to expectations last year. There's only a year or two left probably with him there. If they want to get a young QB in there, I like him a lot. I think he fits. One of the coaches at Tulane coached Drew Brees for 10, 15 years at New Orleans with the Saints, Dan Rouchar, and he said, they've been in constant communication with the Saints on that kid. So I've got like a fourth-round grade on him. Spencer Rattler, I think there's an outside chance he goes in the second round. Mm-hmm. I think he's my favorite second. If we're going to operate under the assumption that Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. are first-round quarterbacks, not that I'm convinced they are, but if we do end up getting 6 signal callers in the first round, I think Spencer Rattler's the best one left, right? So at that point, you got to think a team in the second round. Now, look, if we get 6, Denver and Vegas are probably not going to need one because they probably took one, right? They're the reasons we got to 6, most likely. But if they don't get their guys in the first round I think they pick back-to-back, I think it's like 12, 13, I look at them in the second round potentially taking a guy like Spencer Rattler. The kid matured beyond his years. It's amazing. The guy a couple of years ago, he had some public moments I think he'd like back. Didn't show a lot of maturity. He was on that show, right, that Netflix show years ago, had a bit of an embarrassing moment there with arrogance. But he has grown. I talked to him about that. I interviewed him at the Senior Bowl. I'm telling you, the maturity. He was coached by Doyle Loggins this year, right? Former Titans offensive coordinator. Mm-hmm. Yeah, did a great job, OC down there in South Carolina. And I think he's matured beyond his years, and I think he's ready for this opportunity. I got a second-round grade on Spencer Rattler.
Who is your best nickel guy coming into the NFL based off your rating? And I was referencing because I heard someone say the kid from Michigan was Mike, I forgot his last name, Saren Steele, or however you pronounce his last name. But I remember when he was at IMG and then when he went to Michigan and all of that, and he was a wide receiver at that time. So where is he at on that list when you come out with your list?
I do have him as my top-ranked nickel, and I think he's going to be a nickel. I've seen some stuff. He can play outside. I don't know that the size is going to allow that. He can play outside like Roger McCreary can play outside, where maybe, he can do it in a pinch, but you feel much better with him inside. I can't believe that he's only been playing the position for like 2 or 3 years, right? Like you talked about him being receiver. He is smart beyond his years. Great interview with him. He was one of my 205. The football IQ jumps off the charts. It's so damn impressive. But I'll tell you what, I do think he's facing a bit more contention for that number 1 nickel spot than the general public realizes, because there's a kid at Kentucky, Andrew Phillips. He's got some first-round buzz. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know DBs, Blaine. I'm a trust you and side with you on that one. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's got that versatility. I like him better at nickel, but I do think he can play outside a little. He's got some first-round buzz, right, which is like, I think it would be a bit of a shock, but I don't think he gets out of the second round. I don't think he makes it past pick 40, 45 if he's still there. So those are by far and away my 2 best nickel corners in this class.
Okay, let's stay with, cornerbacks, and we're talking about the outside guys, and maybe you think he could play inside. It's a guy from Tennessee that we haven't even asked about. He was a transfer in there, Gabe Judy Lally. I mean, I hear some buzz. I see he going on some top 30 visits. I'm like, man, we haven't even talked about him. What do you think of him?
I thought he had a better year in 2022 at BYU than he had this past year. Not that he was terrible this year, but I thought he was better at BYU. And you might have seen the tweet. My tweet. He was at Titans local pro day. Boy, did they show a lot of interest. Like he told me he stayed 2 hours after the pro day meeting the head coach, Brian Callahan. He said he was with the DB coach. He said he met the assistant general manager, which blew me away. I presume that maybe to be either Chad Brinker or I think is it Anthony Robinson is in that role. He also met the special teams coordinator. So he spent a ton of time with the Titans after the local play. He fielded punts for them, which is something he said he hadn't done in a couple of years. Felt really good to get back out there. If I had the Magic 8 Ball right now, I think we'll be talking potentially about either a Titan 7th-round pick or one of their priority UDFAs.
Dang. Justin Melo from At The Draft Network. One more question here, because I am so conflicted with these 3 wide receivers on who's the better player and who's the better fit. And I'm always looking at the Titans like who could fit better with the Titans organization. So that is Ladd McConkey, Ricky Parasol, and my man Corley at Western Kentucky. I like all these guys. I think they'll be solid NFL players. Maybe not superstars, but very productive players.
Well, I think the interesting thing with them, I think I'd say they all fit the Titans, so I think they're all capable of playing the slot, right? Like all three of those guys have that in common. We know DeAndre Hopkins is going to be your X. We know Calvin Ridley is going to be your Z. I'm sure you guys noticed when Brian Callahan was asked about the slot a couple weeks ago, he didn't even mention Treylon Burks. Right. He talked about Kyle Phillips and Nick Westbrook-Akine. So that leads me to believe maybe we're going to get some competition there at the slot, and it could be with another draft pick added into that mix. I mean, I think Ricky Pearsall, personally, I think he's a slot-only type. I'm not convinced he's going to move around a ton for you. I think Ladd McConkey can move around a ton and play the slot and play the Z. And I think something similar of Malachi Corley, who might be the best run-after-catch receiver in this draft. I mean, what he did, first of all, you talk about a guy being the focal point of the offense. I talked to him about that. Anytime they needed a first down, you know whose number they called, right? They needed to move the chains. It was Malachi Corley. And it's been that way for a couple of years. The volume that he saw, and I don't know about you, Blaine, I love a guy coming into the next level that's used to seeing volume. You know what I mean? Like a guy that it knows what it's like to step up to the plate when it comes time to it. That was Malachi Corley. He was the offense over there. So I think all three of them are a really good fit, and they could be day one starters in the slot.
Justin Melo giving us the business at the Draft Network.
Justin, people in the chat are weighing in with some questions, and a Titans fan asked here, Justin, please make the case for and against Brock at number 7. He's not, in quotes, just a tight end. He's an elite pass catcher, just like the elite wide receivers. That is from a Titans fan.
Well, I think the case against it at number 7 is fairly obvious. There's the universal argument of the positional value, right? Yes, he's a tight end. We know first-round tight ends have not fared well over the last 10 years. Essentially, none of them have fared well. On the flip side, I don't think that that's super fair to hold that against him. He's not the one that went out there and failed, right, over the last 10 years. Another case against him is this team needs premium players at premium positions, okay? The three most important positions, we know what they've got at quarterback, or they're still figuring it out, but we know it's going to be Will Levis. And then at edge, offensive tackle, they don't have premium players there. They can use some more premium young pieces at receiver as well. I think that's the case against it. The case for it, as the gentleman said there in his argument, yes, he's an elite football player. There's no doubt about that, right? And if you have a problem with the tight end, and I like arguing against myself, I like doing this, going back and forth. You have a problem with the position. Well, he played more than 60% of his snaps either out wide or in the slot. Okay, so he's not going to come in and you're going to ask him all of a sudden to be an inline blocker. No, he's going to be an elite pass catcher most likely. So, and look, everyone loves Malik Neighbors. I do too. You're talking about him playing the slot. Well, if he comes in and plays the slot, or Brock Bowers comes in and plays the slot, tomato, right? A little bit at that point. So I think that's the case for and against it. He's more than just a tight end. He's an elite player, one of the best 10 players in the draft. That's the case for it. Against it, yes, he still has the letters TE attached to his name, and I think they need players at more premium positions on this roster.
Got another one here from Trippin' Titans. This looks like it's coming from YouTube watchers. Question for Melo. Would the Chargers really take a left tackle when they don't need a left tackle? There's a lot of Titans fans asking that anytime it gets mentioned about Alt possibly going to the Chargers.
Well, look, no one wants it to happen in Tennessee, right? Like, we're Titans, so we want Alt to be there at 7, but I think it'd be silly to use that as our reason for thinking why they wouldn't. I ultimately agree with the question where I have a hard time, and look, they might not feel the same, and that's why I like to say that, because they might not feel the same, but I have a really, really hard time drafting a player at number 5, a premium pick, and then telling him he has to switch positions. Okay, now he's got to go play right tackle. Never taken a snap there at Notre Dame. Okay, left tackle through and through, like 2,000 snaps at left tackle. I think the Lions did it with Penei Sewell a few years ago, right? So it's like, it happens. I don't love it. If I'm the Chargers and I'm hell-bent on a tackle, unless they got a gold jacket grade on Joe Alt, I think I would trade down and I would take one of the plug-and-play right tackles. Like, they want to run the football. They're going to be physical. That's the Harbaugh way. Why not take J.C. Latham, who's very clearly a right tackle and is going to complement the offense they want to run so well, right? Like a physical, powerful guy. No issues on position. He's your right tackle. Rashawn Slater's your left. Talise Fuaga from Oregon State, same thing. Why don't you trade down and get a powerful mauler that is an unquestioned right tackle? So I have a hard time picking Alt at 5 and then asking him to switch positions. Maybe they'll do it. If they do, I'll disagree with the way they got there.
There you go, Justin Melo at JustinM_NFL, Draft Network, and other places covering the draft.
We have covered Justin Alt all over the place from Notre Dame. I didn't even realize they had another tackle. Blake Fisher.
Yes.
Who the heck is that?
Yeah.
I mean, what round is he going? I'm like, dang,
Dave.
we could get both of them.
They're like Washington. They got two good ones.
Yeah, a good one at that at Notre. I really like Blake Fisher. I think he might be the most underrated or among the most underrated tackles. I got a second-round grade. Like, seriously,
What?
I think he should go in the 50s or 60s. Absolutely. I'm a big fan of him. He was actually, I want to say he was playing left, okay, before Joe Alt emerged. And then they kicked him over to the right. They had the best bookend duo in football this year. I like them even better than the Washington kids. I really do. They average. Listen, we know the rich history there at Notre Dame, okay? Do you guys realize 39.1 points per game this year, second most in program history? Who was the quarterback? It wasn't a guy that carried them. It was Sam Hartman. They did that running the football with the running back that's going to get drafted, Audric Estime as well. Yeah. And they did that on the backs of Joe Alt at left tackle and Blake Fisher at right tackle. He's a really, really good tackle that I think could start for a team on either side as a rookie.
Oh, if the Titans trade back and then have to go second round with the tackle and they take someone else in the first, another position, oh, wow. Just hearing that, and he could play left or right. Based off Justin Melo, right?
I'm a big fan. I think he can play both. I think he's plug and play on the right, but I think you like that he's got the experience on the left. If you're in a pinch, you want to try to work with him through camp and do that. I think he's plug and play on the right, but I honestly would not be shocked if that kid starts in year one. He is savvy. One of my last interviews of the 205, I had a bunch of fun with him. He is so technically smart and advanced. You watch the tape. I don't get why he's not getting more buzz. I like him a lot.
All righty, now let's go right down the street to Murfreesboro. MTSU, they've got a history of creating some safeties in the National Football League. I think this may be the third one. I don't know. Maybe they already have 3 already in there. Who is this kid? I think his last name is Ross, Teldrick Ross, cornerback / safety. Yes.
Teldrick Ross. He played both for them. I look at the history of that program. What is it about DBs that just make a way for themselves, right? Kevin Byard with the 65th pick, as we all know. Reese Blankenship has outperformed. Didn't get drafted, if I recall. And then also, how about Travarius Ward? Didn't get drafted either, if I recall correct. I loved him. I did a great story on him that year, and he made me look real smart because I think I headlined it. Travarius Ward, meet the best corner you haven't heard of in this class. Teldrick Ross, 43 PBUs at MTSU. I mean, you want to talk ball production. There are scouts, GMs, that even coaches, they swear by it. That's really important to them, right? He's got good size. He's got the production. He played all over the secondary for them. I imagine, I don't think he's going to get drafted in truth. I think he follows in the footsteps of some of those others, but I hope he follows in the footsteps completely, right? You'd love to see him turn out to be a Travarius Ward or a Reed Blankenship. I think he's going to at least get an opportunity. I'll be shocked if he's not signed on Saturday evening.
All righty. Well, speaking of corners, man, another family member of mine, Beanie Bishop. Come on, man. Tell me he's a draftable guy from West Virginia.
I got a draftable grade on him. Look, the one thing I don't understand, okay, I submitted that interview to my boss, and I'm not familiar with this kid. Is he going to get drafted? I said, he led the nation in passes defense. I hate separating these stats, but he led the nation in passes defense with 24 this past year, okay? He also led the nation in PBUs with 20. How they decide the difference, I don't even freaking know, but that's what they've got officially according to the NCAA. And then he ran a 4.3940 at the Big 12 Pro Day, okay? So you're matching that ball production with the 40 time. How do you not draft him? He's getting drafted, and I talked to him about the return rules, okay, the way they changed. He was dynamic in the return game for them. on punts and kicks that time. So I got a draftable grade. I think he's a starting returner next season in the league. Maybe one of the better returners in the NFL this next year.
Justin Melo talking well about the Bishop family.
Yes, right. Hey, like 30 seconds on the way out. You're over under on trades tomorrow in the first round. I saw somewhere Peter Schrager thinks he thinks there could be 10.
That's wow. 10 is out as crazy. I don't think you have enough partners. I mean, that's 20 teams, right? I don't think you got enough partners for that. I'll go 4.5. I would put the line comfortably between 4 and 6. I bet we get at least 4, no more than 6 or 7.
All right. Well, write that down. Listen, man, turn in your last few profiles. Enjoy the next few days, and then get some sleep. Like Saturday night, you can sleep until Monday or whatever. You got our permission.
Appreciate you guys. You know where to find me. I'm sure we'll be back on to talk Titans draft class, UDFAs. I'll have it all.
Last thing before we let you go. Doom, 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 doom. The Titans select at number 7 is
Joe Alt, offensive tackle from Notre Dame.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Blake Fisher. No, just kidding. Thanks, man.
One of the
Appreciate
Bishop
that.
family. Thanks, Melo.
Appreciate you guys.
See, at JustinM_NFL. If you like draft stuff and you're not following him, you're not doing it right. It's that simple.
Insane, man.
Draft Network, if you're not reading there, Titans MCM, Broadway TN. My man is everywhere doing fantastic work. All right. Rand said something yesterday. Then he got asked a follow-up question. Teams have been nosy about pick 7, he said. Nosy.
Ooh.
Then he was asked by TD, I believe it was, about not trading. Would you not trade, though, if certain players are available? It's a one-word answer. I'll tell you, and then we'll go a little bit further into that next. It's Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Do Blaine and Mickey, brought to you by All Four Seasons Garage Doors. When trust matters, time
who is
keeps
that?
on slipping into the future. Is this Seal covering this?
This is Seal.
Yeah. It's a Steve Miller song. Got covered by Seal.
man.
This song was so good, I don't care who covers it. It's a good song.
It's a great bump song.
Seal had a little magic in the voice, man. And Seal. Married Heidi Klum. Seal.
Man,
Hats off to tip the cap to Seal.
and the music was different right there, boy.
Do you have this on your playlist? This would have been around then.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Because you said kind of mellow
This was
stuff
it.
in honor of Justin Mello.
I especially played it when I was with the Eagles because I said fly like an eagle.
Oh, man.
See?
Do you
Till
think the
I'm
Eagles
free.
play? You think the Eagles play this in their locker room?
And no, I was there.
Did they play it at the stadium? Fly like an eagle? Surely.
Have to.
This would
They'd
have
be
to get played.
missing an opportunity. If they don't.
100%.
Well, at least
Somebody
when I was
needs to
there, I went on there
get
one year.
a job
They didn't do that.
evaluation.
They was always talking about fly like an eagle. I was too worried about seeing Dawkins fly like an eagle. I was like, this dude is incredible.
Wolverine.
He was a bad mamma jamma, man.
That guy came out on all fours when they introduced him.
He was flying.
You ever just stop on the field and look to your left or right and be like, what in the world?
That did happen. It only happened to me in my last year of playing football, and that was Brian Dawkins. Real talk, man. I said, what in the heck? He really believes he can fly. And got up and started acting like he was an eagle. I was like, oh. And then when you go watch the film, you go, why did he jump in the air like that? He was flying.
He really was an Eagle.
He was flying, and then clothesline whoever running back it was. I was like, I would have just ran through and tackled him. He flew to get him. He believed it. He thought he was actual Wolverine. Into the Hall of Fame real quick. They was like,
that's true.
oh, he's in immediately. I was like, whoa, no wonder I was seeing something different. I was like, wow. Oh man, he was incredible, man. That he had that Vader, he had the mentality. And what's so bad, dude is a great, Lord-fearing person. You would have never known if you didn't see him outside of that field how he was. He'd be like, Blaine, why
Flip the switch.
Why did you cuss on the field? Huh? What are you talking about? I said, that dude tried to cut block me. He tried to hurt me, man. He said, but you didn't have to cuss. I said, what did you say when you had Jerome Bettis in the throat? Lord help him. I said, do what? He said, I wanted the Lord to help him after I hit him. Because I hit him with all my power and might, and I thought it may hurt him. This is a real conversation I'm having on the bench.
Those types of stories,
I'm
just like
what the hell?
it just blows my mind.
It blew my mind. I'm like, what is this? Are you kidding me? He says, find another way. And I get up and say, well, that's a piece of, poop. Man, please. I said, we're just talking about a game. I said, hey, man, I got to put some expletive out there in case he was trying to hurt me, man. I got to let him know I'm not the one. He said, Lord, help him. I said, wow. I mean, he had his arms up in the sky. And I walk by because I'm jogging. I'm getting over there where he's at. I'm about to high five him. I'm like, well, let me let him finish his celebration. He goes, Lord, help him.
If you're an opponent and you just got hit, and the dude who hit you goes, Lord, please help him.
He did.
What is your reaction? You have no leverage anymore. None.
Oh, man. He was, hey, man, it might have been like playing with the great, but when I saw that, I was like, what? This is insane. I thought he was going to be like, yeah, blah, 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 and just kind of get, nope. Lord help him. I had never heard or seen anything like it. I said, uh-oh, this is about to be a heck of a ride.
Yes, it is. And it was. We're still talking about it. We're still learning about it here.
Oh, my God. Man, he was special. And what a great human, but great family. Man, this guy, I would have, except when I saw his two lockers in the locker room, he had a Wolverine, and he said, oh, no, that's my other locker. said, dude, it's in between my locker, but that's never see anybody here. He says, that's me. Well, you see my head on the Wolverine. The fans have made this that I'm Wolverine, and I'm Wolverine on game day.
Like the superhero Wolverine?
Yeah. It had its own locker next in between me and him at the facility. And I kept on saying, what are these dolls and stuff in here? Like what is this? He had, because I was sitting in there. He said, hey, man, get out of there. Do not sit in there. I said, what are you talking about? He said, that's my other locker. I said, well, I've never seen anybody here.
For those of you who may have missed, Blaine is talking about Brian Dawkins when he was on the Eagles.
I was like, you're 20 and I'm 24. And he said, yep. And that dude right there is 0. Ooh, what? Well, okay, all right. Okay, I'm going to stay out of his locker room. His locker. I mean, it has dolls all over the place. So we got to remember he'd been there like, 6-7 years or so. So he had dolls and everything in this thing.
Did he have to like clean all that out like after the season?
No, I think it stayed.
He just left it in there.
I don't think it ever moved. He would just add to the collection.
All right, we got to add to the show in hour 2. Here's what we're going to do.
That for a whole segment.
Rand, that's okay. Rand Carr thought, hey, that's story time is always winning time. Rand said teams have been nosy about pick 7. Teron Davenport asked him, but are there certain guys that you wouldn't trade the pick out for, that you would stick and stay and make the pick for certain guys? And he said, in a short answer, yes. Who do you think those people are? That if this guy's available, he wouldn't trade out. 615-737-1045, F&M Bank Chat. Who are the guys that Rand would not trade if they are available at pick 7? If they are there, no trade, he's taking them.
Bo Nix.
Bo Nix is not
Jaden Daniels.
one of them. Jaden Daniels, I guess one of them. Probably. But boy, that would be fun. All right, we'll discuss it next. Jump in here. F&M Bank Chat 615-737-1045. 3HL powered by Wolverine and all Four Seasons garage doors.
Did you just say 3HL?
Blaine and Mickey. We used to be on 3HL.
Yeah, we did. Did you know Eurofix is a very different business philosophy? They staff all their locations with more staff than the average auto repair shop, just so they can be ready for when your emergency pops up out of nowhere. Have you ever noticed how hard it is to get a right now appointment for your vehicle repair? Well, some dealers can be more than 2 weeks out just to get a freaking appointment, but not Eurofix. Eurofix has been offering quality repairs that beat the dealer without the dealer pricing since 1999. Plus a 3-year nationwide warranty and the staff to fix your car right now. So if you're tired of waiting forever to get your car into the shop, then call Eurofix. Owner Aaron Stokes says we will never be too busy for our customers. We're here to take their pain away, and we mean right now. And Eurofix repairs all European cars, and Eurofix says yes to speedy repair when others can't or won't. Family owned for 24 years. And all you have to do is just give them a call at 844-EUROFIX. That's right, 844-EUROFIX, or you can just visit them online at myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com. But I was telling Blaine, such.
All right, let's talk to all you ladies and gentlemen who are out there dealing with hair loss. We're well into 2024. We're well into modern living here, and a lot of you are still just looking at your head and seeing less hair. And guys, maybe you get the buzz, or ladies, maybe you figure out some creative ways to style your hair. Here's the thing. There's a place called PAI, though, where you can keep the hair that you have and get the hair back that you've lost. And it doesn't matter where you are in the journey. Some people say, man, I just started. Maybe it's never going to stop once it starts. It's never going to, trust me. And the other thing is this, maybe you lost it all a long time ago. Well, guess what? They can help you at PAI at WeGrowHair.com, no matter where you are in your hair loss journey. They can't help you if you don't call, though. And here's the thing, the first consultation, it's free. if you just go there, make an appointment, wegrowhair.com, 615-376-6010. If you just go there and make an appointment, it costs you nothing. And they'll say, here's where you are in your hair loss journey, and here's how we stop it, and here's how we make you look like you want to look again, like you look in all those old pictures in your house or those old yearbooks. Call them today. Get your hair back with PAI. Don't wait. WeGrowHair.com, 615-376-6010.
Good afternoon. I'm Joseph Bonanno. It is 2:02. This is from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. Happy NFL Draft Eve. The Tennessee Titans are slated to pick at number 7 in the 2024 NFL Draft, with the first round kicks off tomorrow night. You can catch all the draft coverage right here on The Zone. The Lions are making some big money moves in the NFL Draft today, signing wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown to a 4-year, $120 million extension. That makes him the league's highest paid wide receiver. And then just a couple hours after that, they signed offensive tackle Penei Sewell to a 4-year, $112 million extension, making him the highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL. Tonight, the NHL playoffs continue. It's Bruins at the Maple Leafs for Game 3. That series is tied at 1. The Golden Knights and Stars have Game 2, as the Golden Knights have a 1-0 lead. And then the Kings and Oilers also have Game 2, with the Oilers with a 1-0 lead. Over in the NBA playoffs tonight, in the Eastern first round, Game 2, it's Boston and Heat. Boston leads that one 1-0. And then in the West first round, Game 2, OKC leads the Pelicans 1-0. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you need to visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home of the Titans and Balls. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Blaine and Mickey, welcome to Draft Eve. It's the Draft Eve show. The elves are loading the draft sleigh with Santa Goodell. They're getting ready to deliver draft picks. Santa Goodell is in his basement with his Werther's Originals and his sweaters. Remember that COVID draft where he was in his basement? And people were like, this is his whole basement?
Oh, yeah.
This guy makes like $36 million a year. Like his basement should be never ending. It should look like Six Flags over St. Louis in there.
Well, he's
it looked
probably
like everybody's basement.
He might have been in the basement of his high rise.
Maybe he was just in the basement of his basement at that point.
You know what, man? I have to tell this joke. It's not really a joke. It was funny to me. Why do you think most people are watching the draft?
Why are most people watching the draft?
Right. And here's why I said it. This is me and my wife talking. And she goes, oh, man, I can't wait to watch the draft. I said, oh, man, to see who gets picked where.
Does she want to see their suits?
You got me. I was going to name that number 4. She says, I can't wait to see what they are wearing, their suits. She said, I said, do what? She said, why do you think I was watching the WNBA draft with you? I wanted to see what the ladies were wearing. I said, that would have not been on my list. She says, are you nuts? That's number 1. So everybody give Fit Chick Stella Bishop a hard time. No, I know a lot of people do watch this. Why are you watching the draft?
Like the NFL draft?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you were just talking about the WNBA. I was also on the phone.
Wait, okay, my bad. Yeah, well, I was just saying that's why she said she watched
because of the Fitz?
Yeah.
NBA draft is the Fitz draft.
Oh, yeah, the NBA is that. No.
Well, she said WNBA, but yeah.
I watched the NFL draft because I really don't know. That's a good question. Why do I watch Roger Goodell read 32 names off a piece of paper?
I just think it's
you
the
want to
greatest.
see where guys go and what the drama is with behind it all, covering it on a daily basis, and you know how we don't know nothing until it actually happens.
Yeah,
it's probably for. You're right. It's probably for the drama of like trading and. Oh wow, this guy's like last year. Like Will Levis was supposed to go top 5, number 1, and then holy crap, Will Levis
percolated all night in the draft.
Will Levis isn't getting picked.
Yeah,
what
is he gonna drop? Is he gonna drop? And then he makes it to day 2, and then is Will Levis gonna get picked today? And then we all know how that story
The
ended.
real life drama is unbelievable. It's just the most unbeatable drama.
So
and
that's the reason why you watch.
100%.
But how did you guess suits? Because obviously that must be important to the mixer.
Just because the way you talk about your beautiful wife.
Look at you, Jonathan.
You guys take different looks at a lot of things.
Oh, yeah,
Because
no
you'll
doubt.
say, this happened, and this is the way I looked at it, and this is the way she looked at it. It's literally night and day every time.
Yeah.
But as Paul Abdul said, opposites attract.
Yeah, no
Paul
doubt.
Abdul was onto something. So I just thought you would watch, like, this guy doesn't even match their defensive coordinator.
Right.
Why would they take
I'm
that
looking at
guy?
it from
He's his own guy. Why would they do that? They play mostly man. Yes.
Right. See, that's exactly it. She knows nothing about that, though. That's why she's like,
but I'm sure
I'm sitting here watching with my husband, so why would I watch this is what she's saying. And she goes, well, I can't wait to see what suits they have on.
But I could hear, based on the stories you tell, I could hear Sella saying, where would a 340-pound, 6'6" guy get a suit like that?
Yeah, that's what she was saying.
He must have a great tailor.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
That's what she was saying.
would just be appreciating how good they look.
Yeah.
How many of these prospects do you think are actually going to the draft? Because I know the number, but how many do you think it is?
16.
Oh, how many prospects for it's 32 picks, so, right? And so
In the first round, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm assuming they're going to at least have some of them may not have shown up. So we talking about this 25?
13 players accepted invitations to this year's draft.
What'd you say, Mickey?
16.
Yeah. Because a lot of guys they don't want to get embarrassed.
Yep.
And I get it. And they don't want the camera on them. You dropped it. It's a great moment. Getting drafted in the first round is still a great moment. Now, if you even leak to the second round, and I feel for those guys because it is, oh my God, Levis. I remember Aaron Rodgers right off the cuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was like, what? What is going on? So that has led to a lot of guys saying, I'll just sit at home with my family or wherever it's at, if they're having draft parties or what have you. And that way, if something happens, I got, the comfort of my family there and say everything will be okay. It's an emotional time. So it's very unpredictable. And that's what is scary.
And that's why I'm watching.
That's exactly why I'm watching, because it's just like, wow, I never would have thought they would have took him.
So who are Rand's guys that he would take, no matter the drama level tomorrow night? Who are his guys that he was talking about where he looked at TD and said, in a word, yes, I would stick for certain guys?
Stick and pick.
I would say Joe Alt is probably one, the most.
That one makes the most sense.
That is the
Joe
most
Alt
obvious
is there.
answer.
Yes, most Titans fans would be like, even though we want Brock Bowers, go ahead.
I would say Marvin Harrison Jr. if he somehow slips. And then maybe Malik Neighbors. I would say those are the three.
I would agree with all three of those. I wonder if there's one more. Because to me, those are the big three. Like the odds of Harrison coming to you he would have to be one of your highest rated players, I would think. Same for Neighbors. And then Joe Alt is, by all accounts, the highest rated guy at the position that you really didn't address at all during free agency. And they addressed some positions. So those three. I wonder if there's anybody else, though. Do you think maybe Odunze would be in that group? I mean, I don't know. But I agree with Bananas, those same three names. That if Marvin Harrison happened to drop to you, that you'd have a big decision to make.
What had to be a trade that happened with Arizona?
Yep.
To me, for that to
and
possibly
then
happen.
The Giants would have to like Neighbors over Marvin Harrison Jr.
Right.
And then obviously the Chargers would have to go offensive tackle or trade out.
Yeah, it's hard. Those are, not miss type players. So any of those guys that fell to those,
What about a quarterback? Like just hypothetically, say a Drake May slipped at the end to 7. Do you pass up?
If Drake May slips to 7, my phone better be ringing for somebody who wants Drake May.
Right, to move up, not for you to select him.
Yes. I would consider that a gift from the football gods.
Mm-hmm.
And I just start looking at the phone, like, ring phone. Mm-hmm. What y'all got?
Mm-hmm. Rand starts cooking.
What y'all got for Uncle Rand? I would run to the phone if I was Rand, and I would answer it and see what they got, man.
Yeah, I'm not taking a quarterback this year, regardless. Now later around, yeah, maybe. Yeah, no doubt about it. I don't know what they may be thinking, Malik Willis, because you're still saying, and then Mason Rudolph, you're still always thinking about down the road, not just this year. He only signed a 1-year deal, right? Rudolph.
Well, that's right.
And then, Malik Willis. So still got to get your style of quarterback in a backup role that you can develop. And that could come in free agency. I don't know how they're evaluating these quarterbacks. So I wouldn't be opposed to later in the draft, maybe even, Kirk Cousins style. That's why I bring up Pratt and Rattler and those middle round guys. You never may who surface. Now, just think about this now. RG3 was the third pick? Whatever pick he was, he was high. And then everybody thought at the time it was the Redskins.
Yeah.
Not the Commanders. They were like, why did they take Kirk Cousins in the 4th round? They already have a quarterback. What are they doing? They're total opposite quarterbacks. And guess what? Kirk Cousins ended up being the better quarterback. So you just never know what you may get with a guy who has all the tools, and then you don't know, up top what makes him elite. Mm-hmm. And that it's shown out. I mean, he's had a very, very productive, well-respected. I don't know if it's Hall of Fame, but they act like he is. But he's definitely a really, really good quarterback. See? You would have never done that, because at the same time, I was saying, I don't know, that doesn't make any sense. Especially they weren't even alike. So you had to run 2 different offenses.
That's the weirdest thing. It's one of the weirdest
weird.
draft sequences that I've ever seen.
I was like, well, one can run. This guy he was an alternate on the Olympic team.
I mean, he was a Heisman Trophy winner, alternate on Levy. Then you take Kirk Cousins, who there's a picture of his Michigan State quarterback room, and like 4 of those guys played in the NFL.
Because they ran that pro-style offense.
He wasn't even the best quarterback on his college team for a while.
Yeah.
Because they had so many good guys.
And now he's made $400 million, or $400 million in total earnings?
Spot Track put this out earlier. Highest earning NFL player by drafted round, and he's the highest paid 4th round pick in history. Kirk Cousins. It's Aaron Rodgers for 1st round picks, Drew Brees for 2nd round picks, Russell Wilson for 3rd, Kirk Cousins for 4th, Stephon Diggs for 5th round picks, Tom Brady, of course, 6th round picks, and he's earned more than, well, everybody except for Aaron Rodgers. Ryan Fitzpatrick is the highest paid 7th round pick in history.
Oh, good. Oh,
Good for him.
He's made $100-something million.
This says 82.
Oh, yeah.
And Tony Romo is the highest paid undrafted free agent in history, $127 million.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Notice the thing is be a quarterback, kids.
All quarterbacks.
Only Stephon Diggs is the non-quarterback. Okay, Jordan Dajani, I think he's a non-quarterback. We'll have to ask him what position he played. He will not be drafted, but he will be covering all of this for CBS Sports, and he will make his Wednesday appearance with us next here on Blaine and Mickey, powered by All Four Seasons Garage Doors.
Can't you tell how I'm talking and stuffed up? Allergy season is upon us and pollen is in the air. But fear not, Cool-Ray has your back. Our $49 tune-up will have your HVAC system running smoothly, keeping allergens at bay. Plus, enjoy 10% off indoor air quality products for an extra boost. So are you ready to say goodbye to your old HVAC system? Well, with Cool-Ray, it's out with the old and in with the new, and we'll even give you $1,000 for your old system when you upgrade with us. That's right, we'll pay you to breathe easier. But let's not overlook the little things that keep your home humming. Our $93 drain cleaning service ensures your pipes stay clear and stress levels are low. And if you can't clear your drain, well, that's on us. Consider our way of keeping things flowing smoothly. So with Tennessee's unpredictable weather, it's crucial to be prepared. That's where our whole home generators come in. With $1,500 off, you can keep your home powered up, rain or shine. So don't let Mother Nature catch you off guard. Let Cool-Ray be a beacon of reliability. So Tennessee, are you ready to embrace spring with confidence? Give Cool-Ray a call today and let's make this season a breeze. We're your partner in comfort no matter the season. So Cool-Ray, keeping Tennessee cool, plumbing right, and lights bright. Visit CoolRay.com to take control of your home's comfort. That's CoolRay.com.
Blaine and Mickey, 104.5 The Zone. Happy Draft Eve to all who celebrate. We celebrate here. Jordan Dajani celebrates. He celebrates every day, and he writes about it on CBS Sports, and he joins us now courtesy of the magic of Zoom, I believe it is. What's up, JD? Happy Draft Eve to you.
It's the most wonderful time of the year. What's going on, guys? Excited to break down the draft with you. Thanks for having me on the show.
Woo! How much do you love draft week?
Oh, that's a really good question because the NFL draft is one of my favorite sporting events of the entire year, of my entire lifetime. But by the time draft week rolls around and, we're just looking at this unrelenting rumor mill that continues to churn, it gets a little tiresome just going over the same information. We have all our preconceived notions that we are just preparing for them to be flipped on their heads, where our mock drafts are completely torn apart by pick 4. So I'm just really excited for the event to finally get underway, and we're 24 hours away, so I'm excited for it.
You even wrote about this. What draft rumors are you buying and selling? What are some of your favorites?
Yeah, if you read that piece, it's kind of funny because I'm basically selling everything that I'm hearing at this point. But there's some pretty interesting ones. I mean, let's talk about the quarterbacks first and foremost. They of course, are going to be the headlines seemingly every single year. How many quarterbacks are going to go in the first round with the top 32 picks? The record was set back in 1983 with 6 first-round quarterbacks being selected. Could we see that match tomorrow night? I think there's absolutely a possibility, especially when you throw in the fact that teams will have the 5th-year options on those rookie contracts, which can be important when it comes to quarterback negotiations further down the road. But right now I'm leaning towards 5 being selected, with Michael Penix Jr. being the final guy selected. Maybe Bo Nix has a little bit of a fall into day 2, similar to what Will Levis experienced last year.
Hanging with our man Jordan Dajani of CBS Sports. You can follow him. He is at Jordan Dajani on Twitter or X or whatever you're calling it.
Hey, Jordan, thanks for coming on, man. Like always, I know you're here locally. I just wonder if you listened to the Rand Carthon interview and what were your takes from it if you did.
Yeah, I did listen to it. I thought it was pretty solid. I really do enjoy listening to those two men talk when they're at the podium, trying to get more insight into what this Titans team is going to look like. What principles are they founded upon, and what's their game plan heading into the most important events of the offseason? One thing that I did take away was Mr. Rand Carthon talking about how, he's going to listen to every trade offer that comes across his phone, but there are a few prospects where if they are available at number 7, there is no way that they are trading down. So I'm sure you guys have been speculating on who those prospects could potentially be. I would imagine there is at least one offensive tackle with Joe Alt. I believe Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably going to get picked before 7. I believe he's another player. Maybe Malik Neighbors is that other prospect, too. If he's at 7 and Joe Alt goes number 5 to the Chargers, which, of course, would be unfortunate for us here in Nashville, maybe Malik Neighbors is one of those prospects that Tennessee is not going to trade down for their spot and select to add to this new-look offense.
Well, speaking of trades, this is a trade that already happened. Zach Wilson traded to the Broncos. How do you think that kind of impacts their thought process for them at quarterback? Does it change anything or not?
Yeah, the Broncos traded a 2024 6th-rounder to the Jets for yet another quarterback with the last name Wilson, plus a 7th-rounder. So the Jets general manager, Joe Douglas, he claimed that Zach was an asset, but by that logic, so is the expired roast beef in my fridge. They're worth the same thing out on the draft market. But what you need to know about Zach Wilson, seriously, is that he possesses some pretty elite arm talent when it comes to throwing from different angles, off different platforms. He possesses that one trait that can make great quarterbacks elite quarterbacks. But the problem is that he struggled with the simple to intermediate challenges that come with quarterbacking at the NFL, from composure, footwork, knowing how to adjust, confidence pre-snap. Just hitting open wide receivers has been a challenge for Zach Wilson. He ranks last in the NFL in completion percentage, touchdown to interception ratio, passer rating since he entered the league. So they say Sean Payton is someone who can get the most out of his quarterbacks, but we'll see. Now, to answer your question, I truly don't think that this changes the Broncos' brass focus heading into the NFL draft. They are very much in the market for a quarterback. The question is, what quarterback is that with Michael Penix Jr.? Is he someone that they consider taking at 12? Does he go potentially earlier to another team like the Raiders who might orchestrate a trade up the draft board? Do the Broncos get ultra aggressive and try to get into that top 6 range to grab someone like a Drake May or J.J. McCarthy? You can't say that's off the table just yet. So, no, I don't think that this adjusts the Broncos' game plan when it comes to acquiring a quarterback. They still need a quote-unquote starter, and I believe they're a team to watch tomorrow night.
What are expectations on quarterbacks whose contracts are going to be up here pretty soon? And that's Tua and Goff. I guess what's the expectations on average per year, on their pay?
Yeah, that's a good question because, again, we kind of talked about Tua a bit last week, but like Jared Goff, for example, he's someone who has really exceeded expectations. People thought he was being thrown away to Detroit to basically die, but he's been a large part of the rejuvenation of that franchise altogether. So Jared Goff, and someone who's won a couple of playoff games now, also represented the Rams in the Super Bowl. He's someone who I think most people would speculate could be worth for a nice bump in pay. And it's interesting you bring this up today, considering that the Lions took care of some of their own players on offense with Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown with lucrative extensions. Jared Goff's probably looking around saying, hey, what's going on here? I believe that his camp would probably be pushing for somewhere like $50 million a year. And I don't know if it's necessarily worth that, right? I do like Jared Goff, but is he that kind of Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts guy? Is he in that bracket? Well, any quarterback who's due for a payday is going to be up there in that high bracket. So it'll be interesting to see what the Lions decide to do with this contract. But I can tell you that the organization seems to continue to have a high level of faith in this quarterback.
Man, it's something about the pay for quarterbacks that kind of, on some of these guys who are good, solid starters and not superstar quarterbacks, in my eyes anyway. So I think the pay is getting really out of hand. So when I think about that, we were just talking about Tony Romo was the highest paid undrafted player. I can't imagine what Brock Purdy's going to get then. I mean, we're talking maybe 2 years down the road.
It'll be more than Romo made in his career.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're totally right about that. I mean, Brock Purdy has been I don't want to overstate it, but he's clearly been the engine that's made this 49ers offense go and being an efficient distributor of the football. I mean, they've got some talented weapons that are otherworldly like Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, Christian McCaffrey, but there's no doubt that switching out Jimmy Garoppolo for Brock Purdy has paid dividends for San Francisco early on. And let's be real, if he continues on this path of quote-unquote greatness and the 49ers are perennial contenders with Brock Purdy at the helm, he is going to be in that elite bracket when it comes to highest paid quarterbacks.
Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports.
Did I dream this, or did you have a pre-draft interview with Joe Alt?
I did talk with Joe Alt. Now, yeah, thanks for bringing it up. That was a pretty good interview. Now, he didn't give me too much on the Titans. I was a little disappointed. He told me he had a great visit and enjoyed meeting with Brian and Bill Callahan, which, of course, was good to hear. But I will tell you this. There is one question I ask every draft prospect I talk to, and that is, what do you want NFL teams to know about Joe Alt, for example, that NFL teams do not know about Joe Alt? And the reason I ask that is because at this point in the draft process, you as a prospect have really heard everything out there about you, on or off the field. And there are narratives that can be crafted that are not always rooted in truth. So what I'm asking is basically, is there anything you want to get out there that you want to address? And it was kind of interesting because Joe Alt wanted to talk about his demeanor, right? He talks about how he comes off as cool, calm, and collected on the field, but he wants teams to know that he's a locker room guy, that he's an outgoing person. He wants to be a leader, and that's something he really wanted to address, which I thought was interesting. Another thing that I'll bring up is I was pleasantly surprised how technical he was when I spoke to him. He broke everything down from pass blocking to run blocking. In pass blocking, he talked about working to improve his strike, using his hands, taking pass rushers out of rhythm, taking the fight to them and making them second-guess him as a left tackle. As a run blocker, he wanted to talk about playing lower, using his natural size when you get under a guy's pads and create that lethal leverage that can eliminate a defender on the run. So I was impressed talking to Joe Alt, and I kind of went from saying, yeah, I would like Joe Alt at number 7 to, gosh, I hope he's available at number 7 for Tennessee to select.
Hanging out with our man Jordan Dajani here on Blaine and Mickey. How many? Well, let me ask you this: how do you have the top 5 quarterbacks ranked in what order?
Yeah, I would have Caleb Williams at number 1, and number 2 and number 3 is where I've really struggled because I've wanted to stand up for Drake May. I really like him as a prospect. He wasn't able to improve upon his production, in 2023, but he was the 2022 ACC Player of the Year. But after the campaign that Jaden Daniels from LSU had, I had no problem putting him at number 2. And in fact, I'm now considering him a lock to go number 2 to the Washington Commanders. At 3, I will have Drake May. JJ McCarthy is the one I'm not as sold on as seemingly the rest of the NFL world is. I mean, when he was asked to make the big time throws for Michigan, he was able to do that, but he didn't have the kind of numbers and the kind of production that other quarterbacks like Michael Penix Jr. or even Bo Nix had, which is something that I think at least is worth bringing up. I'm not saying that J.J. McCarthy is doomed to never reach his potential at the next level. In fact, I think he's someone who absolutely can have a better pro career than he did college, but it's really tough trying to figure out where I would rate him on my big board because, to be honest with you guys, I would not be picking him inside the top 6. That's just kind of where I sit right now. So he's probably sitting around that 4 range. At number 5, I really like Michael Penix Jr. I like the kid. I like the talent. It's pretty remarkable that this guy shook off 4 straight season-ending injuries to put together 2 prolific campaigns out in the Pac-12. I like the arm talent. Maybe he could be more consistent with layering throws. But this guy is someone who I already bet to be a first-round pick, and I'm pretty sold that he's going to hear his name called tomorrow night.
Our guy, Jordan Dajani, hanging out with us here on Blaine and Mickey, same time every week on Wednesday.
Well, someone that the Bananas would love to see get drafted, and you wrote an article. The Giants reportedly interested in trading up to take Drake May? Tell us about this.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I talked a little bit about Drake May, but he's been one of the prospects that hasn't received a large amount of positive attention through the pre-draft process. All that positive attention has gone to J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. Well, as I mentioned, I like Drake May as a prospect, and from the reports I'm reading this past week, it seems like a lot of NFL teams are high on him. If they're sold that Jaden Daniels is going number 2, the New England Patriots are going to have offers on their table to trade down from number 3. Now, do I think they should? Not really, unless you get a Godfather King's ransom kind of offer. I think they end up selecting Drake May. But the New York Giants are a team, and the Minnesota Vikings, by the way, are teams that have done their homework on quarterbacks. And even though New York has given Daniel Jones that 4-year extension just last offseason, you can hypothesize that the brass is not exactly 100% sold that he could be the guy, and maybe they end up bringing in a Tar Heel to compete with the Duke Blue Devil. So I think the Giants are definitely going to be the team who's going to be talking on the phones, trying to move up the draft board when Drake May falls to number 3. But again, it really comes down to the Patriots. It really comes down to that offer. Are they going to delay their looming selection of a quarterback to move down the board for added draft compensation? Now that Bill Belichick's not in New England, we don't know how Gerard Mayo and Elliott Wolf are going to operate. So that'll be something interesting to watch.
Well, I saw Xavier Howard, the cornerback, who is finally healthy after a foot injury and a couple injuries here the last couple years. Maybe not the same player he used to be, but still a solid player. What do you think is going to happen for him as far as being maybe a security blanket if someone got injured, or maybe even as a starter if someone misses out on drafting, a high-level cornerback?
Xavier Howard, the former Dolphin?
Yes.
Yeah, I definitely still think he has starting potential in the NFL. And it's been pretty fascinating to watch how this market, when it comes to not only cornerbacks, but we can talk about safeties as well, just members of the secondary, has shifted throughout the early and middle portions of free agency. And it's going to set up for a very fascinating third wave of free agency after the NFL draft. So Xavier Howard is someone who I still believe can absolutely start. And maybe he's someone who has an eye on joining a contender as well. I think he actually has even talked about the Houston Texans as a potential match. And I will point to the fact that Houston, they have to make some additions in the secondary, especially at cornerback as well, especially if they're trying to be all in, right? The Stephon Diggs trade, the C.J. Stroud rookie quarterback contract. Xavier Howard would be a signing that would make some sense. But let's flip over to the other conference. How about the NFC? I think the Detroit Lions would be an interesting team for Xavier Howard or any veteran defensive back as well. The unfortunate circumstances led to Cam Sutton getting released earlier this year. So there's an open spot in the secondary. I think that the Lions could be a match for Xavier Howard as well.
All right, lastly, what the odds or percentage odds Brandon Ayuk gets traded from San Fran?
Yeah, I love this question because in that column that Mickey brought up earlier, one of the rumors I addressed was Brandon Ayuk being traded. And I'm selling on that rumor. But we did see an interesting report from Michael Silver just yesterday saying that this situation is still very much up in the air. Now, according to reports, the 49ers won a first-round pick this year to move Brandon Ayuk. And what's interesting is, if you remember, A.J. Brown got moved for a first-round pick, and I think it was a third-round pick. But we have another NFL general manager on record to Michael Silver saying that the asking price for Brandon Ayuk is just too much. So the situation does remain up in the air. But ultimately, if I had to put my money down, I'm thinking that Brandon Ayuk makes it through the first round, still a member of the 49ers. But again, guys, every single year, seemingly, we see different players traded on draft day that we're not necessarily anticipating. So guys like Patrick Surtain, Cortland Sutton, T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, you could make the argument that they're all on the table. And again, we've seen some reports come out saying that we're expecting a very active trade market on Thursday night. So at this point, it seems like nothing's off the table.
There you have it. Jordan Dajani, NFL writer for CBS Sports.
All right, on the way out, a real simple one. Pick 7 tomorrow. If the Titans are there and they don't trade, they don't do anything, your prediction for who is a Titan tomorrow night?
Please, draft gods, deliver me left tackle Joe Alt out of Notre Dame. Let's not oversimplify the matter. I think this is a guy who's going to start for a long time at the NFL level. To shore up that left side of the line with Peter Skoronski on the inside as well should be a dream for this Titans front office. Hoping Joe Alt's on the board.
There you go. As simple as that. Hey, buddy, we appreciate the time. And just think this time next week, we'll be talking about all these new draft picks and everything. It's going to be amazing.
I can't wait, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good show.
Yes, sir. The one and only Jordan Dajani. You can follow him at Jordan Dajani, and you can also read all of his writings at cbssports.com. They're some of the best in the business. JD will leave us. We'll come back and finish things up. Ryan in the Burrow has some Joe Alt talk that he wants to talk, and we'll do that. And we'll finish up this Draft Day Eve show coming up next. You know, I love a good stat. Here's a stat for you. Over the past 20 years or so, studies have shown that testosterone has started to drop in men way earlier than it used to. So this was something, right, men in their 50s used to talk about. Then it seemed like men in their 40s were talking about it in the 30s. And now sometimes even men in their 20s can be affected. Don't know how that works. I don't know the science, but Edge Peptide does. They know the science. And here's the thing for me. I was just tired. Like I'd come home from work, I'd fall asleep on the couch. You know, then I couldn't sleep at night. And barely getting through workouts and that kind of thing. That's why I reached out to Edge Peptide, because I wanted to find out what's the source of all this stuff. So they ran some tests. Then you have some real talk, and they tell you, you know, this is the option we want to try here. And I was low on vitamin B12, and so they said we need to get some of that in you and see what happens. So that's what we did. They want to help you feel good from the inside out, whether it's testosterone or peptide therapy. It could be any number of things. Right now, $99 a month for testosterone therapy will get you going, but it can if you don't call and make an appointment. You can go to edgepeptide.com or call them 615-724-1878. Schedule an appointment with Edge Peptide today and get back to feeling like you want to feel.
So many people trust Two Rivers Ford. Football players, working moms, business owners. Why? Because Two Rivers Ford has been doing business with integrity for decades. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer.
Blaine and Mickey running towards the end of the show here. Let's run to the phone, 615-737-1045. Draft Eve, how you feeling out there? Let's get Ryan in the Burrow. Up next on Blaine and Mickey. What's up, Ryan?
What's up, fellas? So I've got two quick questions. One is, if guards are kind of easier to pick up maybe in a second round and you want to tackle, that's more of a first-round projection. I'm just wondering why we got Skoronski, if the whole plan was to play him at left guard when there was Broderick Jones or some other people. But then also my second question is, we haven't had a good tackle since Lawan went down. So this is another draft year. We got a high draft pick, lots of tempting prospects to pick up at receiver. If we don't get Alt, and he's the highest rated person on the board, and God forbid Levis gets hurt, how much is that going to put pressure on Rand for not doing whatever needed to be done to solidify that position?
I appreciate the phone call today when you're the general manager of a football team. I mean, you got to get a lot of stuff right.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of hypothetical in there. Reason why they drafted Skoronski, they had signed in free agency Dillard in their eyes, so they were fine with making that kind of move, putting him at guard. Different coach. So, you know, I think that excuses that. Yeah, there's possibilities. I think they've gone through every scenario. If Alt isn't there. I think they have their B plan. And B plan could be we're going to draft the best available player in the first round, whatever position that is. And then in the second round, we'll go get that tackle because this is a deep tackle draft. So you can't predict that, so what would happen if Will Levis gets hurt? I mean, you're trying that possibility, even if you draft it, it could still happen.
Levis was hurt last year.
Right.
He was hurt in the preseason.
Well, he had a horrible offensive line. So
it did happen last year. Yeah.
And so it's really hard to say. Getting injured is like saying you could get hurt driving a vehicle. Mm-hmm. You can at any point in time. So and it's just like that in the football. So hopefully they get the best player, and hopefully it'll be a need. But sometimes some philosophies for some GMs is to take the highest available player on your board in your ranking, and that could be not tackle. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be stunned if they took a receiver, if they took a tight end, because those guys are rated higher. I'm gonna give this example, and this is when I learned all this. Is we signed Chris Chandler with the Houston Oilers right before the 2 years before we moved here. And I was still a young player. I was going into my second year. And all of a sudden, we have Chris Chandler in free agency at quarterback, and we signed him to a boatload of money. Mm-hmm. We then go draft Steve Air McNair at number 3. Now, guess what the rumors were? We're going to draft Kevin Carter with the number 3 pick. This was all in paper by John McClain. This is that out there. And there was no doubt in my mind we were going to draft Kevin Carter. We didn't need a quarterback. Mm-hmm. But here's what Rewind, the late, great Floyd Reese would say. You never pass on a franchise quarterback. And Chris Chandler was a free agent guy who still got paid. So Chris Chandler was pissed the whole time because they, went against what they told him they were going to do. They took a guy third. He knew third pick mean this guy's going to play sooner or later. Well, that wasn't the case. Yeah. Mac didn't play for another couple years as a starter. So certain things, you just do in the first round that, sometimes you just can't overcome. You take the best available player. Now, here's what Floyd Reese, when we got back here and then they beat us with the Rams, Floyd Reese felt like, the late, great Floyd Reese, that he got both players from that year's draft because he ended up signing Kevin Carter in free agency, and he already had a developed Steve Air McNair. And so that showed me he actually did want Kevin Carter.
Right.
He just couldn't pass up Air McNair, a franchise builder and, a great player and highly ranked player.
MVP?
Right, MVP of the league. So so in the first round, that's why sometimes, GMs roll the dice on the upside is just so great, you can't say no. Yeah. And I think he realized that coming up to the draft probably this time when he was drafting and said, we just can't pass up a franchise quarterback. And when they signed one who was just a good player, he wasn't an elite player, and we'd already traded Warren Moon and all those things. So that's why they signed Chris Chandler, who ended up going to the Super Bowl the year before we did with the Falcons.
Yep.
So, there's a lot of things going here that I don't think even if he's available, it's just a no-brainer. I think there's other players, if they're available and they're higher ranked, let's say if it's Marvin Harrison Jr. there and Alt is there, by any scenario, right, who are they taking?
I'm taking Marvin Harrison Jr.
See,
and
that's what I'm getting
turning
at.
Towards Indianapolis, and I'm laughing.
Right, because some people say Harrison Jr. is the number 1 highest rated player in the whole draft.
Yeah.
And if that is true, and he's still available, man, you can't say no. And then everybody going like, we didn't get a tackle. See? And that's how that happens. So you just got to understand that's how they process and do things in the NFL when you have experience as a GM.
I wonder if the other guy, and we talked about this earlier, because Rand basically said yes. When asked, are there guys that you would not trade out of, you would take them? He said yes. And he said in a word, yes. We know it's got to be Marvin Harrison, one of them. One of them has to be Alt, I would imagine. I wonder if the other is Malik Neighbors. Because Odunze is my guy, but most everybody has Harrison and Neighbors.
Neck and neck.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's because Neighbors run after catch. When you watch them, you go, oh. And the other kid, Thomas, is a blazer. Mm-hmm. And his run after catch is pretty good. But Neighbors makes people miss. He is different.
Yeah, Thomas averaged over 17 yards per reception. So did Odunze, just throwing that in there.
Yeah,
So
I
did
like
Neighbors.
Odunze a lot. You've been on him from day one, and man, I have a lot of I wouldn't be mad at all if they took him, even if it was over Neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, is he just an outside guy though?
I don't
You
know
how much I love versatility.
I don't know what his snap count is. Have you seen this?
No, I don't know what I would imagine. I think he's more outside. I know he's got great, like his keys are like great route running, great 50-50 ball.
Yep.
So it sounds like more of an outside guy, but
And see, that's what would make me lean towards Neighbors. Because he's inside and out. And the Odunze is more just out, and they got two outside guys.
If you take Neighbors, he's going to get so many slaps in the slot here. I mean, he's going to get them everywhere. But, I mean, they basically talked about slot guys the other day and started naming people and got to Mason Kinsey.
Yeah.
I mean, at
No
that
offense to
point,
Mason Kinsey, love him. But
if you draft Neighbors, him and DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley will be flipping from left to right to inside to outside.
And I love that because if you go back and watch the Bengals, when Jamar Chase got injured, they started moving Higgins around a lot more. I didn't even think he could play the slot, and they did. So they like versatility in their receivers. So I'm bold predict they may take Neighbors.
Well, I can't wait. It's all going to happen tomorrow. One more day of speculation and then actual stuff tomorrow night. And, of course, you'll hear it all on The Zone. We'll be covering every bit of it all night long. Mike and the crew for Titans Radio will cover the draft. But right now, it's time for 3HL. We got to get out of here.
But in the meantime,
In between time,
peace.